Well, first off, I want to thank Jadon and the Crappie Anglers of Texas. Man, what a group to, I mean, how this thing has grown in the last couple of years. It's amazing. And I don't know if I know of any other club that's grown as quick and as fast as this has. I want to thank them from the bottom of my heart, because it's a pleasure for me. I've had a chance to meet a lot of you members that are with this club. We've all kind of become family, so that's pretty cool to see all the old faces and stuff like that. So I want to start off telling you a little bit about myself for those that don't know me. I live down at Lake Fork. I used to be a crappie guide so I could fish bass terms. I know, working the system, right? So, and basically all I did was I was going around to my crappie brush piles catching big bass, you know, so it was kind of a two-way street for me. It worked out really good until they caught on to it. They said, you ain't fishing no more because you're still a guide. So that's kind of a little bit of how I got into this. I want to thank Bass Pro Shops as well. I don't want to get too deep into this real quick. There has been a venture that has been working for about 6 months, maybe longer than that. At the time, I was picked up with Legend Boats, and I've been with Humminbird now for about a little over 2 years now. But I knew some people in the Bass Pro industry that I was real good friends with. I wanted to try to get in there. So the problem with it is I was with Legend Boats. Now, I would have never dreamed we'd be sitting here in Garland Bass Pro Shops with a Legend boat sitting on the floor. But there's a reason why this boat's sitting here. I am a part of the Bass Pro family now as of about 3 or 4 weeks ago. And I want to thank this guy. He's going to come up. His name's Jason Shank. I want to give him a big round of applause. Jason is with the Tyler store, the Bass Pro Shops in Tyler. So any of you people that would like to look at a pontoon boat or these big cargo boats are great for crappie fishing. I know a lot of people use those. Jason is the GM at that store. Let's give him a hand right now. Now, what is my venture with Bass Pro Shops? Well, we tried to rack our brains and try to figure out, and I'm going to tell you something, the good Lord works in mysterious ways, right? So, one day I just had this vision. Matter of fact, it was about 10:30 at night. I said, man, I got to call Jason. So I called Jason at home. He's probably already asleep. I said, man, I got a great idea. The problem I have, I own my own company. It's called Lake Fork Electronics Training. And I have a lot of customers that have elaborate systems like this. But I've also got customers that don't have quite elaborate systems like this. And there was a big demand for that. And I felt bad because I was sitting there like, man, I didn't know how to operate or try to get those guys involved until I had that vision. I said, you know what? Here's an opportunity. So I purchased a pontoon boat. I'm actually probably maybe one of the first Sun Tracker Pro staffs that's ever been. But I purchased a Lake Fork Electronics Training, purchased a 18 DLX, which is perfect fishing. If you guys would like the pontoons, would be a fantastic boat for crappie fishing. This particular boat's going to be rigged with helixes. Humminbird, we're going to outfit this thing with 4 or 5 helix electronics. There'll be hands-on seminars. I can carry 4 or 5 guys at a lower cost with that boat. It'll have an Ultra trolling motor. We'll go over brush piles. We're going to go out and look at different things so we can show you guys how to operate these crappie systems. We are looking on the way. It's going to have a transom mount 360 on it. Jadon talked about the 360, man. The more and more that we learn about this thing, it is the most incredible tool that you could probably have on your boat. And I'm going to talk about that here in a minute, because there's a different way of looking at that 360 that's down into your side. Okay, so that's a pretty cool deal. We hope to have that thing up and running in the next couple of months. waiting for the hardware to come in. The birds on back order. A lot of these, you guys know, trying to get grass, man, they are bombarded right now. This Helix series that just rolled out is stupid. It's incredible for the money. And if you compare that to your customer, you can tell the big difference in the price. It's just incredible. The screen, I can take a screen on the Helix and be sitting in the back of the boat and I can see that screen. It's that bright. Any sunlight, any angle, it doesn't matter. It's a really, really good picture. So, we're going to get started first. I'm going to do this a little different because usually I talk about, we go through some sonars and stuff like that, and I will do that, but the things we want to talk about first is, I want to talk about problems that I see with customers, the main problems we have on the water. And that may affect each and every one of y'all. Y'all may have some questions, or these problems may be affecting you guys, and this could help you get through some of your problems that you're having on the water. Okay? Well, let's talk first. On the agenda today, we're going to do some sonar technology review. We're using all this stuff for finding fish. This is Thunderbird's technology and review at the moment. You got the 360, the down imaging, the side imaging, and the dual beam sonar with true chirp. I'm going to tell you, remember that word, true chirp. Okay? Everybody wants to know what chirp is. These are all the bands of frequencies, the way that they run. And this goes with Lowrance guys or Thunderbirds as well. Okay, they're all basically the same. You run a 200 hertz cone, an 83 hertz cone, your down imaging at 455 or 800, or your side imaging at 455 or 800. And those are the panes in which those different sonars react to the water from the side imaging transmitter. Okay? If you're looking at your kilohertz, a lot of guys will run them on 83. I prefer 200. I like that sharper image. I want to see that little clearer image. It's not as much coverage. And I'll tell you that what you can typically do, if your depth's 40 feet, you got a 40-foot circle. It's a 1-to-1 ratio. Okay? So, how can you prove that? If you drive by a bridge pylon, for instance, and you're 20 foot off that bridge pylon, and you push down imaging, you can see that bridge pylon to the left, right? The problem that you see at the top is there's no bridge pylon going all the way to the top of the picture. Anybody know why? Cone, yep, that's what it is. The cone's cutting the top part of it off. Okay, so you got to understand that. I get a lot of customers, man, how come it doesn't go all the way to the top? Because your sonar is cutting the top of the pylon off. So you've got an inverted ice cream cone, basically. And that's what it looks like. So if your bridge pylon is right here, that cone's going to cut off top part of the top of it. And the same thing goes for standing timber. You guys that fish standing timber, you'll see the same thing. You'll just see the timber come to a certain level. That's because the sonar cone's cutting off. Here's kind of a difference. Wide beams versus the narrow beams. There's your difference. You can pick up a whole lot more stuff. It just won't be as clear. I'm all about the OCD. I want a crystal clear picture. I hate distortion. I don't want any surface clutter. If there's a speck in that screen, I want to know it's a fish or it's something there or a bait or something of that nature. I've spent many hours and a couple of possible divorces staying on the water too long because my wife wondered where the heck I'm at because I just didn't want to get off the water until that sucker was perfect, which led me to getting into this pretty cool deal. I just came infatuated with it and just love it. We're going to skip through here. Here's the difference of the cone angles as well. You'll see that if you're looking straight down on them there, and you can get different visions. Now, a lot of our units will run 83 or 200 in the sonar. All right, and then these newer units are coming out with chirp. Chirp is a broadband sonar. The definition of that is instead of one frequency firing, a chirp's bursting multiple frequencies. So the more frequencies that you fire, the higher definition you get. Okay? I don't know off the top of my head what the competitor is, but it's not very many. Hummingbirds fire 50 at a time. One frequency, one burst is 50 frequencies at one time. So anybody that's been on my Facebook page, anybody here? Anybody got to see the video I posted with the Helix 12? That was true chirp with 50 frequencies. You can see my jig perfectly. Jigging it up and down, and then you can see a bright yellow bait come right to it. That is the coolest thing. If you hadn't done that, try it. It is awesome. It's just like, but it's really good if you got an Altera and you don't have to worry about sitting on it. You can sit right there and watch your jig. All of a sudden you see this yellow dot come right up and just nail it. It's the neatest thing. And I tell people, go do that on sand bass. Sand bass will teach a lot of people, I mean, anybody go catch sand bass. That's right. So what you do is go learn that on a sand bass. Take a sand bass spoon and get used to that. And then go to another area that you might have a little smaller concentration of sand bass. Try to narrow it down. That's how you practice. That's how you get better. And then you get down to one fish that's suspended on a tree. And you see him on that tree, and you drop down there and catch him, boy. That's a satisfaction that anybody would look at. It's pretty cool. All right, so if you ran the 200s at one and 83s at the other beam, you can see kind of the differences in the pickup of the pictures. The 200 shows more detail, but the 83 is in a wider tone, so you can pick up more fish. But I lean more towards the detail. A lot of you guys running Hummingbirds, it has a switch fire option. That switch fire option is an amplified version of your 2D sonar, okay? I don't run it, I prefer, and all of this is based on opinion, okay? So I personally prefer the clear mode. I don't like this blur. I want to be able to see each individual fish. Some guys like to see all that stuff, and I don't. If I see a fish there, I want to know that's one fish. If I see an arch, I want to know it's one fish. But that's totally up to you, whatever you like to run. This stuff here, I don't like that. I get that stuff out of it. When you see mine, it's just a clear screen with the fish or a tree or any kind of structure, brush pile, or something of that nature that you're watching. Okay. There's a switch fire on. There is exactly what you'll look at if you're dropping your G8 down. Okay. Anybody know what this is? That's fish coming up to bite, right? They're feeding. I can tell you right now, this right here is live. This is real time. So when you see it right here, that means that's happening instantaneously. Okay? Everything in front of this is future. Everything behind it is past. I'm going to teach you something tonight. I will guarantee you won't probably never heard anybody say or even thought about. I've never heard it even talked about. But it's probably going to be one of the most important things that you need to know. And we'll do that on the side end. But it is in reference to this as well. But I like to show it in the side images because it'll make you understand something. Okay? 180 degrees with a Hummingbird. Biggest problem I see is where they mount the transducer. Installation is the biggest problem that I see day in and day out. And I'm not going to call it poor installation. It's just lack of knowledge of where these things need to be mounted and how the wires need to be run. They are so sensitive. Where's David? There he is right here. How sensitive is that stuff? Very sensitive. Yes. They are so sensitive now, they will pick up so much interference. You've got to be very careful. This boat, believe it or not, when I went to Mount Holm, Arkansas, and before they put this cap on this boat, I wired it myself. Because I know I've spent too many hours on this thing knowing what is wrong and why. There's wire in here that looks like 12-2 electrical wire. It's all shielded cable to keep all this stuff from interfering. How many people seen the interference in their grass? It's the most aggravating thing you ever seen in your life. I want to throw it when I see that. And it's RF frequency. That's what it is, radio frequency. There's different ways to get that stuff out of them. Ferrite rings, Little thing I learned, a little secret that I had tucked away under in my pocket for a long time. If you'll go on websites where there's ham radio operators. Anybody a ham radio operator? That's one. I know Mark is one of the biggest problems with ham radio operators is radio frequency interference. That's where the ferrite came from. If you go on there, you will find some of the best ferrite you've ever seen in your life. It'll clear a lot of that up. I helped you out. Ham radio operators. So I spend a lot of time trying to figure all this stuff out. All right, let's go back to insulation. If you look at my boat and look where my transducers are mounted, a lot of guys don't want to do that. They don't want to drill a hole in their transom. I would rather drill a hole in my transom and have a brass that I spent $4,000 on to work like it should than not. Because when you get out here, the main goal is you're going to find fish, right? I've got 3 transducers on the back of this unit on this boat. They make different brackets that mount on the side of your jack plate, right? Don't like those. If you ever look and see, this is one that had it. You can see that line right there. And typically, if you see it on the left, you know you got interference on the left. So a lot of my stuff is centered right under. When I say 180 degrees, you need to get out behind your boat and you need to look and make sure that transducer's got 180 degrees clearance through there. If it doesn't, it's going to pick up interference. It's not as bad if you're in deeper water because your water column grows. It moves it up to the top. You're really not worried about 35 foot anymore. But if you get in shallow water, you're up in 5, 10 foot of water, fishing rust piles, and you see lines in your stuff, that's where it's coming from. A lot of us reading the jack plate. Sometimes you can tilt your motor up. Sometimes it's all in the way the boat design is. If your boat got a transom that angles back and pushes out, you might pick up your lower unit sometimes. But trim your motor up, play with that transducer setting. And another thing that I like to do, see the width of that transducer? The width of that transducer needs to be mounted right below the lowest step pad of the boat. Okay? If it's up, you're going to get an interference line because it's trying to pick that 180-degree angle up on it. So you always want to check where your transducers are mounted. All right, so this is probably the number one thing that I see that people have trouble with, side imaging. Anybody have trouble? Don't be shy. Okay, because we all been there. It's happening. So here's what we really want to look at. I'm going to show you. All right, we'll go right here. This is real time. When you're running over that line right there, when you see something come in on either side of that, you just drove over it. Okay? Here's your boat, and from this line, this white line, that is the surface of the water right beneath your boat. That is right at the transom, so that is real time. Okay? From right here, this don't show it, but if this was, I had it in a zoom mode, but if we had, let's say this was 20 foot deep. If that's the surface, that's 0 to 20 foot right there. 0 to 20 foot. This side and this side is the exact same picture. The only difference is you got a cone angle, and that cone grows, and sometimes you'll see a fish here and a fish here. That's the exact same fish. Because you drove right over the top of that fish and he was dead center line of the cone. Okay? If you see him on the left-hand side, he's still pretty much under your boat, but he's left side center line of the cone. Does that make sense? And the same way if you go to the right. Right? Alright. So here to here, 80 feet. To the left, 80 feet to the right. So if I got a fish and he's right here, how far are we? 40 foot. Can anybody tell me We know what this distance is. What is that distance? 160 feet. Do we know what this distance is? Have you ever heard anybody ask what that distance is?
No.
Well, I know what that distance is. And you'll never, I guarantee you probably never heard of it. Why would that be so important to know what this is? Has anybody ever thought about it?
Well, yeah, I have.
Okay.
I mean, but I drive by a boat dock and start counting the buildings, and when I get past the boat dock, it's about 30 feet behind me. It's trailing about 30 feet behind us.
So you're picking up on it. You're thinking, that's good. But let me tell you, me and my wife got to go to a buddy of mine, and I can tell you this story because it'll transition into this, the way, the thinking of this. And that's what got me thinking. We got to go down, a buddy of mine got us set up with a redfish stern pro down on the Gulf. And some of you guys that's been with me probably heard this story. But we headed out, man, I was jacked up. I've never been on bull red before, man, I was ready. He pulled up a $100,000 flats boat, man, had a hummingbird on one side, a lance on the other. We head out. And about 3.5, 4 hours, I keep checking my watch. I ain't had a bite. And I'm getting a little frustrated. I'm like, all right, this guy's a third pro and we ain't caught a fish. So I watched the guy. He not one time looked at his graph. And that particular day, if you've ever been red fishing, those redfish have got on these mullets, kind of like a shad, and they eat so much of it they regurgitate. And what happens is this oil slick comes to the surface. All they're doing is taking these storm wildlife swim baits on bass tackle, throwing them out there and reeling them through those fish slicks. Well, I get a bump every now and then, but really no takers. So I reached over, I said, hey man, you ever use these graphs to find fish with? You know what his reply was? Ain't nobody knows how to use these things out here. We just use the GPS so we don't get lost. I said, okay. I said, move out of the way. So I got over there, man. I dialed the graph in. I said, all right, I want you to take that trolling motor. I want you to run. Don't get on that fish lip. You go by the side of it. I want to see if I can see those redfish. We know they're there because the oil slick's coming up. So we troll by this thing, come by, all of a sudden, there's a fish lip. I'm looking and looking, well, I don't even say nothing to him. I just reached down and grabbed a rod. I already knew where the fish was in location to the reference of this boat. Right? First throw I throw out there, and I'll show you a picture if you want to come look at it. 28 pounds.
Oh, I see it. It's a beast.
Well, this guy, it happened so fast, he's kind of standing there like, and I'm like, dude, get down here and get the net, because this thing is killing me right now. He's wearing me out. So we got him in, and he's like, I don't know if I believe it. That's low. I don't know if I believe it. Drive back up there again. I'm proving to you again. He drives back up, string lights up, I throw out there, catch it up, back to back, 30 pounds full. He's a believer now. He's on the phone, calls his partner. You ain't gonna believe this. This guy's doing this, that, and the other. So, what I want to get to on this point here, as we were coming back, me and my wife, I was thinking about it. I never thought of it, what this distance was. But I needed to know that because I needed to know where to throw to mark that fish. And you can do that with anything, a brush pile, a bridge pylon, something, structure, anything. And a lot of guys, they'll see something right out here, a brush pile, and they just start here on the boat, they'll start going right here. When in reality, it's a lot further off. Anybody want to guess what half screen is? I'm sorry? 58 feet behind you? Even further than that. And I'll tell you how. And there is some factors. I'll tell you how I figured it out. How far?
Well, I'd say 120.
120. He's dead on the money. 120 feet behind the boat. This, 200 feet behind the boat. Everybody said, no way, there ain't no way. Go try it.
Let me see what the point is.
200 feet behind the boat. Go try this. most graphs, you want to set the screen speed to your idle boat speed, correct? So if your boat speed is 3 miles an hour, you set your screen speed to 3 miles an hour. The best picture is going to be in slowest idle, straight up forward. Okay? So how did I do this? I went by a bridge pile off, and I watched that bridge pile off. The first time I did it, got number one, this particular bridge had 3 pylons on it. When I came over the last pylon, the third pylon, I watched until it got to about half screen. And then I turned around and looked at it, and I was like, I couldn't believe how far back it was. So I said, all right, I'm going to try something else. I did it again, I got me a marker buoy. When that thing got to halfway, I threw that marker buoy out. And then I took and measured that distance between that marker buoy and that last third pylon, and I got that measurement. And it opened up a whole new world, okay? Now, I know if I see a brush pile right here, I can forget it, because I'm probably not going to be able to throw 100 feet. I need to get back in there, right? So, in my mind, I can take that 100-foot half screen, 200-foot full screen, and 160 across the screen. I like to run 80 because the picture seems like it's the best there. A lot of guys will run 50, which is fine. You can do that as well. I just prefer 80. I like to run 160-foot swath when I'm scanning. So if I take that 160 by 200, and I imagine it, I do it myself like it's on a clock. Okay, and my boat's at the front of this clock, and I know I'm at 120 feet, and the fish is 40 foot to the right of me. I'm going to throw to about that 7 to 8 range. In my mind, I know exactly where to put, pretty close to where I'm going to, if it's a brush pile or if it's something like that. But you guys, being crappie fishermen, you're probably going to take your boat and go back around it, which brings up a new thing. A lot of the guys, man, it's really shocking to me how many guys don't have their units linked via Ethernet. You've got multiple units, okay? Well, I want to keep that off. I want to keep that off. Well, okay. I don't want it sharing waypoints, and that's fine. I don't know why, because man, if I'm finding and searching with this unit and marking a waypoint, I want it to share with that unit, okay? And I'm going to turn and take that unit and get right on top of it. Okay? So, same transducer? Huh? Same transducer? No, I'll run a transducer up there and a transducer back here. If the unit's marking here and it shares a waypoint up there, you do got to adjust for the length between your transducers. Sure. It's a bunch. Yeah, so if you got Humminbird units, if this unit has waypoints and this unit has waypoints, whatever shares on both units, the shared waypoints will be in green. Whatever shared on, whatever was marked on that unit will be in blue. Okay, so you'll see a blue and a green one. The green ones are shared, the blue ones are the ones you marked on. If you had changed your icon. Well, even with icons, they're green. Okay, so that tells you it's a shared. On the ramps, they look exactly the same. You see, if you mark a waypoint here, they not.
I mark my bow, they got red. The console blue, and it shares blue and red.
That's exactly what I'm saying. They share the same thing that you got them on. Look, identical on both units. That's right.
Yeah, but the color's different.
Made it.
Color.
Oh, you made it. You changed it.
I changed the bow.
Yeah.
One time, the very first.
Yeah.
Actually, before I go out there, we started. Close. I know it. I know it.
I'm just trying to track it.
Create a waypoint. Make it pink, yellow, orange, whatever I want.
Right.
Delete it. Now it's going to be that color now.
Yeah, I'm with you. But on the Humminbird, if you're not familiar with that, whatever shared automatically turns green. Okay. And whatever is not shared is in blue. The brand is a little bit different. But
Can you tie it, bird,
whoever makes that option probably be rich. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's, now you can take waypoints from a Lowrance and a Hummingbird and convert them vice versa. So you ever periodically that you mark waypoints, you can take that to Hummingbird PC and transfer them out. Some of the newer units like the Onyx, I can take a Lowrance and plug it right in there. It does it self-conversion. Yeah.
How close is the waypoint to the structure? Is it different on different days? It doesn't sound like.
You know, I've spent lots of hours on the water, and I'll be honest with you, I have not seen that. I've not seen enough variance to notice that. Okay, I mean, I fish a lot of the same places, and usually when I put on it, it's on. I hear guys talk about that, but I personally haven't seen that. Variance in waypoints marked due to satellite antennas in the sky. I've not. Anybody else seen any of that? I've not seen that very often. They're pretty sharp. And the new HDS 3 has a real good GPS, and it's almost as good as the .1 system, right? And then Hummingbirds as well. But I still like that heading sensor and all that on.
So what's the preference in where you put the club there on the boat?
That's all preference as well. Mine, I mark from right here. A lot of people will mark from right here. You know why they mark right here? That's where the transducer ring is. Okay. In my opinion, and it's just my opinion, that 3 foot ain't gonna make that big difference. Okay, I can still find it, but once I see it and find it, I'm on it. You know, I can stay on it. Now, where it's really beneficial to have the .1 or the precision GPS buck the Hummingbird makes is when you drift. You got to be moving approximately 2.8 miles an hour for that GPS buck to pick you up. Okay, but if you've got a heading sensor built into it, it moves with you automatically. You automatically know. That was when I first started getting into it. That was a big frustration because I'd be sitting out on a ledge catching crappie, and all of a sudden, I'm still on that ledge, but the freaking ledge is over here. I don't know what the heck. Because it had lag time in the GPS antenna, right? So those .1s, yeah, and those are really good. .1s and the precision antennas are really good. Okay, let's go through. That's pretty good. Go try that. Measure your boat. Go out and look at that. You'll be shocked. You'll go, wow. That is a big deal.
Now that distance consistent between the Lowrance and the Garlands?
Yeah, they're pretty same. The Hummingbird and the Lowrance are pretty close to the same exact thing. I've done them on both. I've spent a lot of time with both. School of Sand Bass, and I mean that's good stuff. Good training. Even if you're a crappie fisherman, just go out and catch those things and do it with confidence up. Use your size scan, because they're easy to find, that's what I'm saying. Go to a main lake point. I like to search 20 to 25 foot of water. And if you've ever been to Lake Fork, you can go to any point just about at 20 to 25 foot of water and find that. And then you drop down and catch them. What's that do? It's confidence. And a lot of fishing importance is built on confidence. Just learning how to spot the fish. Because a lot of guys have trouble seeing what these look like. I personally like the blue powder on the side of them because that blue reflects them white dots for me. There's guys that like different colors, and some guys, a lot of my customers are colorblind, so I have to change to a palette that will work for them. So you got to be adjustable in that way as well. So I never thought about that when I started doing this. And it's really more common than you think. So anything that will aid in you seeing these little fish and little dots is going to help you out a lot. Always look for the shadows. The little shadows, those will tell you as well. If there's a shadow, you know that shadow is up in the water column. So if you have a shadow that's real close to a fish, okay, this has got a bunch of them. There's shadows there as well. But if I see a fish and the shadow's right here, that tells me he's on the bottom. But a lot of times if he's up in the water column, that shadow will move off. Okay? These side imaging work like a flashlight, basically. You shoot the beam of light out this way, and whatever hits on the front side is going to light up. Whatever's on the outside of it is going to cast a shadow. Okay? I put these in the other night because I thought this was a pretty cool picture. This is a barge out in the Gulf of hummingbird rep, actually. And they marked all four corners of this, okay? And in those pictures, you see those white dots on that board? Those are actually live groupers. And the main picture I forgot to put in there was him catching this grouper at the bottom from here to that boat long. It's enormous. And so they set these 4 waypoints, and then they took that old terror, actually I think it was a Corova then, and set that right there in the middle of it, and they set right on top of that and caught those groupers. That's a pretty neat deal. And there it is right there. There's a fish that he caught. Giant. I thought I'd lift it out, but there it is right there. So that's pretty cool picture right there. I wish I'd have gone. A lot of people tell me, well, they can't see crappie beds or brim beds. You can. You can see them on a hummingbird, you can see them on a ranch. It's all in the setting. If you're not seeing that, something's wrong. You need to be able to see that. If you look right there in there, you'll see those little white dots usually sitting in the bed. But that's the neatest thing, because what you do then is you pick your cell phone up, because everybody's got one. Dial your home number or call your wife and tell her to keep the grease up. I'm coming home with it. Right? So, good stuff. Because it's on when you see that. We see that, and it's good stuff. There's some more pretty cool stuff. The good thing about the hummingbird, I'm not biased in any way. I just happen to be with them. Okay? I do them all. I know them all. I've been doing them for a long time. I eat, breathe, and sleep a lot of times. But I will say the hummingbird will read dead up to they will read right to the edge of the water. And the Lowrance will too, but if you'll notice on the Lowrance, we'll start with some haze or some lines right up in the shallow water column. The hummingbird will read real shallow.
Excuse me. Sorry, guys.
There's a little creek channel, road bed, anything of that nature. I'm going to switch over to the 360 here real quick. Down imaging views. One of the biggest things, match that chart speed to your boat speed. That is huge, man. I see guys do that a lot, and I ask, okay, why do you have your boat speed? Well, I don't like seeing that screen go by that slow. I don't have the patience. Well, if your chart speed is too fast, it's going to be printing too fast. It's not going to give you that clear picture, right? Well, then after tell you, that makes sense. But I was the same way. I don't have any patience. I sit there, especially here. There's a difference from here to here. These are 2 different boat speeds. Okay, I've set this one on 3. I usually set this one on 2, because I ain't waiting for 1. And 1, you're sitting there. I'm just not. I refuse. So I'm gonna set that one at 2, which will give you a really decent picture of that. Some of these people like Jalon got this patience. He can put it on 1.
That speed thing just with the hummingbird.
Yes, on the ranch you've got normal times 2. My experience, run them both on normal. They look the best at both normal speeds. Yep. So how fast is that? I don't know. That's interesting. I don't know what that is with Lowrance. But I've tried it every different way, and normal seems to be the best on both. Sometimes I'll put it at a put it down 1 speed, but day in and day out, it looks like the normal works fairly good. So I don't mess with that. What a lot of guys don't understand is there's 4 or 5 settings in these things. If you change 1 setting, it affects the other setting, right? So that is to get those settings coinciding with each other to get the most optimal picture. It's a tough deal to do. These things are frustrating sometimes. I've tried every which way of what they should, and not all boats and graphs are created equal. That's why they got settings in it. If you got 2 Ford Mustangs coming out of there, one of them's going to have 20 more horsepower than the other. It's just the way it is. A man-made product, we're going to have some differences. That's why you have settings. So tweak with your settings, adjust with those settings until you feel like you're getting the optimal picture. Well, another good thing is look at use this Texas Fishing Forum. That's a great tool. A lot of guys post that stuff on there. This crappie club does a lot of, you know, informational stuff. Use all the kind of knowledge you can get. Use that because it's really good stuff. Go in here, it says 360. I don't know if I have it 360. So this 360, you got, when I first started operating it, I was a little bit, I don't even know if I was even on the fence. I was like, I don't know, this ain't gonna benefit me. But I had to change my way of thinking. All right, so when it was, how many in here have a 360? Anybody? No Jadon does? Good. Good stuff. If you're not real sure about it, go with one of these guys. Man, it's a game changer. After I understood the technology of it and knew what it was going to do, and now they've gone into this this new little simple mount right here. It goes on your trolling motor. I know they're trying to work on having this for an old Terra troller. They're trying to master that bracket, and it's tough. There is a company called Garland Tx. I don't know if any of you guys know. I have seen it, and it works fairly well on here, but I talked to a couple of guys, and they said the guy don't really want to build it. I don't know why, because he could be knocking it out of the park, because they do work. Anybody know Todd Box? Y'all see Todd Box, Melinda Box? Todd's got one on his boat, and it works fantastic. I set his boat up, and we went over crappie brush pile. It's awesome. Okay, so what we're looking at here, this was in the bay at the Gulf. These are actually dolphins. Okay, so as the boat was moving, the dolphin moved right along with them. The 360 works as a similar to radar. Okay, so it's got a line that comes around and it refreshes. You can speed that up or slow that down. And once it refreshes, the coolest thing, I was out at Lake Athens about a month ago, and I had a guy, we were out there setting it up, and I was sitting out there, and this is when I really started getting the idea of how this thing really worked. So we're sitting out there, we wasn't moving at all, we're just drifting, and I'm watching, and here comes this ball of shad comes into the picture, right here. Well, it refreshes, and as we're drifting, that ball of shad moves to my right. And then that ball of shad moves back behind me. All of a sudden, this fish pops in. And then he moves right here. That fish, I watched that fish follow right around the edge of the boat, follow that shad around. It was the neatest thing. I was like, man. So I had to get my mind around that. Okay, well, that may be where I'm going wrong, because I'm expecting to see a picture like a down imaging or a side imaging, and you're not going to get that clarity like you would on those. These are more mainly focused at shooting the water column out in front of you, or to the side of you, or to the right of you, standing timber. I'll let Jadon kind of talk. What was your experience with that? I know Jadon went up there and he got on some stake beds.
Yeah, that's once you get used to it and you know what you're looking at, you might as well throw away your marker book. You don't need them anymore, because, and especially with the high lake levels that we've got, a lot of your best trees, your favorite trees are underwater. It doesn't matter. You know, you've got it marked, you know where it is. Drop your trolling motor, turn your 360 on, you start heading to your waypoint.
Which shows up on the screen.
Yeah, you've got a split screen, a touch screen there, map and 360. You start heading towards your waypoint, then just flip it to a full screen 360. The first swipe, you see the tree at that outer edge. And you still get closer and the tree in the water.
And it moves right closer to you.
You see if there's fish on it, you can see if it's a bushy tree, you can tell if it's a cedar tree.
Really?
Well, if it's a bodock tree. You know what kind of tree it is, because it shows you the image of that. And you never have to, you know, you're heading this way, oh, it's a little over that way, so you correct and go more this way, and now you're lined up with it, coming right towards you. You slow down, and then about the time it starts appearing in the water column, you see the tree appearing in the water column, right there in front of your boat.
Yes,
and
cool.
you start pitching to it,
Let
If
it
you
get
get
it come
closer,
down.
and then get right up on top of it, drop straight down to it, and then go to the next one. Never have to throw marker to the brush pile, the same thing. It's amazing.
Pretty cool stuff.
No, because it's not as clear. Like
No.
Slade pointed out, you're interpreting a lot more data. You know, we used it at Kentucky Lake when we were fishing steak beds, and if you started coming up to it, you would see that out in the water and the shadows behind it. And we were trolling, and so I got to where I knew exactly how close to get that I could put my rods in the steak bed and never run over the top of it. Just pull up to it and stick your rods up in the brush pile for a while, and then drift back and go to the next one. Pull up and then
Yeah, the real neat.
You can see fish in a brush pile.
Yeah, the real neat thing
Especially
is
in
when
the steak
you
bed.
pull up to a bridge pile and you see fish on that bridge pile, they're right there. You see them, they're right there. You just,
You can cut
Drop it right down.
your bridge fishing time down to nothing because you can just use your trolling motor from pile on to pile on, and as you're approaching it, you can see if there's any fish on it, and you just pick it up on high and go to the next one and slow down and look at the next one. Look at, okay, there's fish on this one, and start fishing that one. It's
so, one of the hardest things I had trouble with is I kept seeing this white line. I don't know if you recognize the white line. It was reading the dadgum trolling motor prop, the pole.
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't figure out what is that line. And I pulled the trolling motor. I mean, that's exactly what it was. And if you get one of these things, you got to make sure that that thing is facing in a right direction. Because if you got it moved off over here, you're thinking it's over here. It's not. It's got to be set right on your trolling motor.
See the back of the motor.
Yeah, that's right. So you got to make sure you got it on the right direction. We're going to speed up a little bit here. I want to talk about the Lake Master chip. All right, this, in my opinion, this is the most important thing on a graph. The more and more I go out, the more and more I lean on looking at this contour map. A lot of us know the closer the lines of the contour lines, the sharper the drops, right? I've gotten to the point I don't even like to fish shallow anymore. I like to be deep water fisherman. Anybody want? I say deep water. We as humans sometimes overreact to things. Some of my buddies said, well, we're on 20 foot of water. What? I ain't fishing out no 20 foot of water. Well, then he threw out the deal, well, that boat's 20 foot long. I started looking at it, I'm like, man, that's not deep. And then I start thinking to myself, well, how are we even catching fish in 4 foot of water now? You know, because it's that shallow water, how are we not scooping? Just things that I always think about. The Lake Master has 3 proprietary products built into it. It has water level offset. Okay, so any lake that you go to, if y'all going, y'all going to be coming up to Ray Roberts. Of course, everything around here is full right now. So most of it, you'll set your parameter at 0 foot. It's going to be full pool. Unless it's a foot or 2 higher, then you will put it at +2. And what's that do? That changes your depth on your contour lines to what they currently are at the time that you're on the lake. The next thing it is a shallow water highline, which is identified as a red color on your Lake Master chart. And that red color, I typically set that at 0 to 5 foot. If I'm running out on Dougharty and there's a sandbar coming out in front of me, I can see it on this map before I get to it and I can navigate around it. You will never even know it's there. It's very vital, key resource in your map. And then last but not least, my favorite thing is depth highlight. Okay? Go back to the sand bass thing that I talked about. Go sit, if you find a school of sand bass, when you find that school, set that parameter. Take that middle depth. Say if your depth, if you have this fish at 20 foot deep, go to your depth highlight range and set that to 20 foot. And then I like to run, sometimes I'll run 2 foot. There's another thing called the depth highlight range setting that goes below it that gives you plus and minus the depth of that 20 foot. You need to set that as well. So you have 20 foot, the next line down has the depth highlight range. and you do that as, usually I say it's 2 foot. So if you were at 2 foot and you're at 20 foot, your 18 to 20 foot range is going to be in green. Okay. And that is your highlighted area that just computer programmed you a pattern. Okay? So you try to, what you want to try to do is put your boat in these areas that you're scouting and looking at and try to match that area just like that. I guarantee you could go down there and find multiple spots that are just like that sand bass. And that's where your confidence is. Probably do the same thing, bass do the same thing, and the sand bass do the same thing. Where do we see a lot of people fish? Where do most people fish? Shallow, right? We get a lot of, they want human nature, you want to throw something you can see. All right, it took me a while to envision what was underneath the water and get enough confidence to, even though I can't see it, to be able to throw to it and catch it. And that takes a little time to do. It don't happen overnight.
That depth highlight is a good safety feature too. If you're going to take someone or two that have ledges and sandbars, you can highlight it.
You bet. Yes, very critical. One of the worst ones Amos did. You be 120 foot of water running across there, all of a sudden it comes up to 5 because we got mountainous ranges in that lake. And that thing will show that if you were out there. Man, that little chip would probably save, if it's used right, would save a ton of damage on your boat, prop, lower your hull, Yes, sir. Yes, it has much more. Yeah. On Lake Master Chip? Yes. I run it all the time. Yeah. All right, so I'm going to open up the floor a little bit. It's a misty thing. Anybody got any questions? Harold Bredemeyer. That's the non-discounted rate. All right, so women, they are cheaper than that. David will tell you that. Go see David, or we got some Last Pro Shop stuff over here. They got some. Matter of fact, I was looking at their 12s and they got a new price down on it. Pretty good. Pretty good stuff. Anybody else? What you got, buddy?
Can you explain the difference between freshwater, shallow water, deep water?
Should you change the settings in those? I'm gonna be honest with you. And this is my opinion, I don't change anything. I can take you to the muddiest water, and I can take you to the clearest water, and I guarantee you where you exactly if it's set right.
So what should you use when you initially set it up? Shallow water, fresh water?
Oh, you talk about on Lowrance? Is it Lowrance? You got Lowrance? You use it on general. When it comes up and asks you, just put it in general mode. It's not going to affect you much at all. If you can tell when you switch it over on the 2D, if you change each one up, don't be scared to do that. You can look at them. But when you change those, the 2D gets a little pixelated sometimes. So you want the sharpest 2D in that version. Usually I'm running that in general. Shallow water. I'm running in shallow water, but I usually run it. I don't think you're not going to tell a whole lot. Not, it will a little bit, but not a whole lot. Just switch it. See, you got shallow, deep, and general. Yeah. How fast? I get that a lot. Well, it's not quite broke in yet. Whoa. Everybody all right? Okay.
That's fine.
Oh. He didn't even know. He all right? All right. He's safe.
Somebody leaned back into the chair and said,
I don't even remember what the question was. How fast have I got my boat? I haven't got it quite broke in, but the